this information. Also, with our scenario command, we can throw this onto a totally new sheet and it's nicely formatted and it looks pretty good. So, step number 1, we select the range that has all of our data in it. Step number 2, on the data ribbon, we grab It's a manager because we can choose to add different scenarios. Our first scenario is going to be our lemonade stand. What cells do we want to change? Well, we only want to change our profits. In fact, you're not able to include a formula in the changing cells. Okay. I'm going to keep these values the same for our lemonade stand. That's our first scenario. Our second scenario is a hot dog stand. Whoops. Hot dog stand. We're going to change those same cells, make sure they're selected. Okay, B5 through V7. B7. We also could have removed the check mark, just make sure we're not going to make any changes to that or allow changes. Okay, now let's do change them. We think with our hot dog stand, we're going to get $10,000 back the first year, $4,000 back the next year, and we think we'll get $3,000 back the following year. Let's add one more scenario. This one's going to be our ice cream stand. Same cells, B5 through B7. I'll choose OK. Now what do we think these values are going to be? Well, we think we're probably going to get only $5,000 back in year 1. We also think we'll get $5,000 back in year 2 and $5,000 back in year 3. Okay. Let's add one more in there. What else can we possibly sell? Well, how about cotton candy? Cotton candy. B5, B7, okay. This time, yeah, we think we'll get all our money back in the first year, $10,000. And then we think we'll get $10,000 in the following year. And you know what? We think we'll get about, well, $5,000 back in that year. So we'll choose OK. Now let's go ahead and take a look. This is our lemonade stand, our hot dog stand, $17,000 profit, but our net present value is only $55.39. Our ice cream stand, $15,000 profit, but our NPV is only $3,000, almost $4,000, but it's because we're only getting half of it back in year 1. It takes us to the 3rd year before we start really making a profit. Cotton candy, here, a $12,000. So what was lemonade? Cotton candy is almost $13,000. Lemonade is $11,000. Even though we get all of our money back plus $2,000 in year 1, our cotton candy, we end up having a better net present value because we have 2 pretty good years there. So our scenario manager really lets us take a look at all of the data in the same range of cells. A summary. Let's see what happens if we choose this information. Okay. Notice how it gives us a whole new sheet. Instead of on the Scenario tab, we're on the Scenario Summary tab. And it shows us our current values, our lemonade stand, our hot dog stand, our ice cream stand, and our cotton candy stand. And this is really just the information that was changed. And these are the results cells. So we can kind of look at the various profits side by side, and we can look at the various net present value. This tells us our cells, but we could always add information here. Total profit. And then we could do, year 1, year 2, year 3. And we could even tweak this up a little bit more if we wanted to hide this information. If we wanted to hide this information as well, we could just click on that and even hide that column. So this is a pretty nice looking report. It's not too bad, and it's been outlined for us automatically. Allows us to compare our scenarios side by side. We could send this right off to the printer. Let's go back to scenarios and take a look at Scenario Manager one more time. I can edit these items. I can delete them. I can even merge scenarios from this book with scenarios that I have in other locations. So I can create more than one scenario. I don't want to merge any scenarios. So scenario is just another way for you to evaluate various pieces of information. It's not much different than this data table, except for the format is different and the orientation really is a little bit different. And really your goal is different, because with the scenarios, we want to be able to see it in a nicely formatted spreadsheet, columnar, so we can take a look at it that way. Let's do a pivot table now. What if scenario, scenario manager, summary. We can also have a scenario pivot table report. When I choose OK, here it is. Of course, I can change this to be year 1, year 2, year 3, total, and net present value. And I can choose what it is I'd like to see and what it is I would not like to see. We had a whole nugget on pivot tables, and it's pretty cool. It's just a different way to look at your information. Of course, I could format this so it's more understandable. I have the whole functionality of Excel here. It's just laying out my information in a different direction. The last thing is auto-filling a series. We're doing another what-if scenario. Instead of doing a formula, we're simply going to autofill. I've got my East region down to my South region. Their first quarter totals, their second quarter totals, and I don't have the third and the fourth quarter yet. I just want to see what Excel is going to give me. I'll do an autofill. When you select more than one cell in a range and fill it over, Excel automatically calculates for you and assumes here, in this case, there was $9,000 difference between 1Q and 2Q. When we copied it over, we should just keep that $9,000 difference. Notice if I select $42,000 and $45,000 and copy it, it says, oh, hey, great, you're going to earn $3,000 in each one of these. So it just figures out that pattern for you. I want to autofill with a trend, so I select the cells that should be copied in the area that they should be copied to, and I grab the command off the home ribbon in the editing area. Right here is the autofill. What do I want to autofill? A series. Linear was what it was doing before. It just figured out, hey, negative $9,000. But maybe I'd like that step value to be different. I don't think it's going to be $9,000. I think actually we're going to go up $3,000, and I'd like to see that. So now it's even adjusted. I'm at $45,000 for Q2. Not looking in the history. Where do I think I'm going to go? I want a growth trend at 1.05. I'm bumping this up by a specific percentage. And there we go. I figured it out. So you just have to do a little bit of planning, a little bit of calculating. You can go into your series though, and you can choose a growth, which is a percent calculation generally, and a linear, which is just the same value added to each extra item that exists there. You can put a stop value if you want to, or you can let it just trend. The trend, notice, is the exact same thing as just copying it over. And of course, what we're doing here isn't by any means specific. These values may greatly change, but at least it gives you a little bit of data that you can use to plan for the future. And when it all comes down to it, do we ever know what the future holds for us? Hopefully these tools that we talked about in this nugget will really help you to predict the future, or at least see what some of your potential items are. We used our data tables, both a 1 variable and a 2 variable data table, to see what would happen if we had different interest rates or if we paid more each month. We got to see what would happen to our loans or how much more money we could save. Goal seeking allowed us to change a cell in order to reach one specific goal. Scenarios are a way to model data. You can build various scenarios into your spreadsheet, show them, toggle them, and compare them against each other. The autofill tool has more to it than simply copying information from one cell to another, and we took a look at how you could have linear or growth progressions in the data that you copy from one cell array to another. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.